I'm Lydia Williams. I'm the owner of Ghostly Vancouver Tours for the past almost 7 years, and we do ghost tours through Vancouver and New Westminster. I believe it's a lifelong interest in the paranormal that's inspired me to take the path I'm on now. I think that I have always believed in the paranormal. I grew up in a haunted house, though I'm the only member of my family to recognize that it was haunted. The path to really believing is your own personal experience. You grow up with the shadow people not realizing they're a phenomenon that's common to everyone. In the late 90s, I was working in a consulting company, and one of my coworkers talked about the Art Bell show. And he started talking about the shadow people on the Top Hat Man. And it triggered a memory, so then I looked it up on their webpage, and people had drawn in pictures, and I thought, wow, I really recognize this. And it almost seemed to trigger then more visitations of shadow people where I was living, which I think was a haunted apartment. He seems to be some sort of iconic form in the shadow world. There's nothing good about this being. There's something supernatural and something I think inherently evil about him, and I don't think we understand what the shadow people are. Some people think they're demons, some people think they're ghosts, but I don't think that we actually have a clue. Once you start acknowledging and becoming aware of paranormal, I believe the phenomenon starts to follow you more. You tune into its energy, it tunes into you. People lived here for many centuries prior to settlers coming in and creating the town of Gastown. But as far as the city goes, yeah, that's where Vancouver was born. I do consider it to be the haunted heart. I think possibly it's due to how many people have lived in that area for a very long time. There's also the Great Fire of 1886, a great tragedy like that with a big loss of human life and a lot of suffering. That's what I think turns it into fertile ground for haunting. This was the wild, wild west back in those days too. I think a lot of people perished in that town, and even after the Great Fire, they rebuilt the city. They just built over the ashes. It's not just the old-timey ghosts. I mean, they're there too, but they move on eventually. Not all spirits stick around for all eternity. Some are newer spirits. You can't throw a rock without hitting a haunted building in Gastown. I think every building I walk by, someone has a ghost story about at some point. Oh, I used to work there, I used to live here, and things would happen on this floor or that floor. They all have history. These are all historic buildings. Sometimes it's just what we call residual haunting, just replays of the past. You'll see that in different parts, but sometimes it's active haunting. Sometimes spirits just stick around. I've had strange things happen. Sometimes it's just pulling your hair, pulling your jacket. Sometimes it's not being able to open a door. Once I was sitting in front of Waterfront station, and a white feather was just suspended right above me, not even floating, just absolutely suspended, dead suspended. And I sat there and stared at it until the tour group came, and then I forgot about it, and I would look back, the white feather was completely gone. I didn't know where it went. Waterfront Station is a liminal space, and you've probably heard of liminal spaces before. They define them as places of transit in between places, so roads, train stations, train cars, places like that. And you think about the millions of people that have gone through Waterfront Station, all that energy, all that history in there. There is no shortage of ghost stories for Waterfront. I think I was at 2 paranormal investigations in Gastown. They're both at the Hotel Europe, actually, in the basement underneath Kim Prince. We did 2 down there. I think we caught maybe a small EVP. I think a vortex can open a portal. Vortex is just a confluence of energy somehow. I would hear that there would be vortexes where 2 maybe water currents meet, like if a river and a creek meet or something like that. I do talk about that on my tour, where there's some sort of portal vortex in the back kitchen. There legitimately are a lot of ghost stories at the old spaghetti factory. My theory is it has to do with the antiques. A lot of antiques have attachments, and they bring in spirits. There's a big trolley car, old streetcar, and also it's a legit streetcar, and it has come with its spirits. Lots of people have experienced residual haunting in Gastown. Some people who are sensitive have also experienced the Great Fire. Some people have come into Gastown and immediately smelled smoke and heard screams. We don't have really any buildings left from pre-fire, but we have the streets still there. The layout of Gastown is still there. If you go around the area of Jailer's Muse, Blood Alley area, supposedly that's where the old one existed and burned down. It was a very small one-room building. In that area of Jailer's Muse, we definitely have a lot of activity, a lot of stories. I've had psychic mediums even on my tour talk about the lady in black laughing at me telling her story. I'm sure I'm not getting her story entirely right. Maybe none of us do. It is a bit of a mystery.